Hello, everybody. Welcome to the podcast devoted to the classic and sometimes not-so-classic genre cinema of yesteryear. This is Monster Kid Radio. This is episode 633 of the podcast, and I'm your writer, host, and producer, Derek M. Cook. And I told y'all I was going to get back on track. I was going to get back on schedule here at the podcast. And, well, I really need to stop making promises like that, because there are some monsters in the machine that are dead set against me. At least that's how it feels sometimes. So here's the thing, and I talked about this on Facebook a little bit already, and some of you have actually reached out to me as well about this in response to my post on Facebook. First of all, I'm not technically having computer problems. At least I don't think I am. I'm like 99.9% sure the computer itself, the monster box, is fine. It's been given a thorough once-over by its creator, Dr. Tom Doppelstein, and he is fairly confident as well. There's nothing wrong with the computer itself. However, there seems to be an internet connectivity issue. Again, 99.9% sure it's not a setting on the computer, or a virus, or software that needs to be updated, a driver situation, or anything like that. Again, Dr. Tom came over and looked at it and spent some time that he didn't have to make sure the machine is up and running okay. The problem happens to be in the connection to the internet itself. When I go online, I will have moments where everything is just fine, and that lasts about 10 to 60 seconds. And then the internet completely drops. And then it comes back, and incredibly slow, for those of you of a certain age, you might understand what I'm about to say, 1200 BPS transfer speeds, which is incredibly slow. Alright? Then it completely dies again, and then it ramps back up, but never quite back to where it used to be. I've never been able to get back up to the fast speeds that I had when we were streaming on Twitch. So how does this affect Monster Kid Radio? Well, first of all, there is no more Twitch right now. I've been running stuff on Twitch, usually blocks of movies, that sort of thing, and I just can't do it because my system cannot handle it. It also means that this week's podcast is not what it was supposed to be. Lord Bloodraw was lined up to come onto the show this week to talk about horror host history. He's an accomplished horror host himself, and we were going to talk about the horror host tradition. He was going to share some knowledge, that sort of thing. And it's going to be a really fun talk. This is actually something that I've been wanting to do for a while. Not just the topic, but to kind of get away from talking about movies themselves. And not that I don't want to talk about movies, because I do, but to start talking about topics that are relevant to Monster Kids as well, to kind of open it up a little bit. So it's not just movie talk, but maybe movie talk, and then a conversation about something relevant to Monster Kids, and then some more movie talk stuff, and then kind of back and forth, playing it up a little bit. I've been doing this for over 600 episodes. I want to keep it fresh, freshen things up a little bit, and I like having conversations that are relevant to Monster Kids that aren't necessarily restricted to just the movie. And besides, let's be honest, whenever we talk about a movie here on the show, we never stay on track. We always bring up something else. If nothing else, I end up talking about Creature from the Black Lagoon for anywhere from 30 seconds to 15, 20 minutes, because that's just who I am. Most of the time, I try to cut most of that out in the edit, but, it's Creature. It's the best movie of all time. I can't not talk about it. Anyway, I was really looking forward to this conversation. I haven't had Lord Bloodraw on the show in a while anyway, and it was just going to be a good time, but when I tried to fire up both Skype and Zoom to do some tests, because of this revving and dialing back and revving and throttling back, the connection just doesn't work. Now, again, Dr. Tom Doppelstein, Tom built this machine. And when he built the machine, at the time, I was working from home in various customer service positions. And as such, I needed a computer that would connect directly to the internet, which meant I could not use Wi-Fi, which meant when Tom built this machine for us, when he created the Monster Box, and this might be Monster Box version 2 or 3 at this point, he did not install Wi-Fi tech or drivers or anything like that. I know most computers come with that, but this was built from the ground up. This was a custom build, and he just didn't include that tech. Now, he is coming over on Sunday of this week to try some more things, and I'm going to ask him to bring over the Wi-Fi hookups because he's got it, he just didn't put it in the machine, as well as some new Ethernet cable, as well as a device called a Mocha box. Now, I'm pretty computer stupid, but I'm really internet and network stupid. I can make a computer turn on and off for the most part, but when it starts getting into the real nitty-gritty stuff, I don't know. That's why I've got Tom. Network stuff, I know even less about. Now, the Mocha box thing, as I understand it, is what converts the Ethernet to the coaxial cable that plugs into the wall, and that's how internet comes into my machine. When I moved into Beth's family's home, the office used to be Beth's oldest daughter's bedroom, and that's how she was connected to the internet. And we just thought we're going to connect me directly to the internet the exact same way. And she does a lot of gaming. She's online all the time, and we figured that would work. And you know what? It did work for a very long time. For whatever reason, in mid-function, I was actually doing something online, uploading and downloading material, getting ready for podcasting stuff, as well as some video production. It just stopped working on me. Now, Comcast is my internet service provider. Insert joke or commentary about Comcast here. They were doing some work in the neighborhood as well not too long ago, and maybe that had something to do with it. Maybe they blew the connection coming in to this bedroom/office. Again, like I said, Tom's coming over with some new Ethernet cable, about 100 feet of it, and we're going to connect the desktop machine to the router in the living room. So we're going to string cable across the house and see if maybe going straight into the router will correct the issues and see if that is the problem. Now, if that does solve the issue, I don't know how we're going to fix it. I don't know if that's a permanent fix. I also have a new Mocha box coming. I had to extend some credit that I didn't really have to order a new box. It's not going to be here until mid-September in case the box itself is what went bad. We'll see. Fingers and tentacles crossed. I'm hopeful that come Sunday, when Tom brings over his Ethernet and his magic hands, that we're going to get this machine back online and I can go ahead and do the recording with Lord Bloodraw and have the episode that we wanted to have this week here on the show. Since we don't have that on the show, and I'm able to record no problem since I'm doing this without being connected to the internet, I wanted to spend a few minutes just kind of talking with you a little bit about some things that have been going on Monster Kid Radio. And first of all, I know I apologized last week about some stuff. I want to apologize for something else. I know lately that I've been coming across as very, how do I grow the channel? How do I make things bigger, better? How do we fix the fact that our download numbers are down? I'm not trying to come across as desperate, if that's how it's coming across. I have had some comments made to me by some friends, and I accept it as constructive criticism through Facebook private messaging. That sometimes it does come across as a little needy, and that's not the intention here at all. I just want to acknowledge that and let you know that I appreciate you listening to the show and being part of what we do here on Monster Kid Radio. And it's not just me. When Kenny sends in a segment or Mark Matzke's Beta Capsule review, which you are getting this week, by the way, you know, their efforts are so impressive to me and such a vital part of what we do here on MKR. Plus, Beth, my wife, you know, she is an integral part to what I do here on Monster Kid Radio, as well as Team Death. And yeah, I just want to thank you for all of your support. Also, I have not given up on the idea of doing a quiz show or a game show of some sort. I know I've been talking about this for years, and I've done a couple of trivia throwdown, showdown, hoedown things on Twitch with the patrons that we have at patreon.com/monsterkidradio to mixed success. I mean, I've had fun, but in terms of having like a great number of participants, it's been a little bit of a stretch. So I'm going to try something different. I'm going to change it up a little bit. We are still going to do a game show thing. And I've discovered that there's a lot of game show and trivia podcasts out there that I am loving. So I'm listening to a lot of those right now. Right now, I think my favorite is something called Who Will Save Generation X? I mean, I'm Monster Kid X. Generation X, Monster Kid. I'm Monster Kid X. So this is right in my wheelhouse. And, you know, it's a cool trivia show put together by a guy named Zabe. I am really impressed with what he's doing. And I'm going to take some inspiration from what he's doing as well as some of the other trivia shows that I've been listening to. We will have a Monster Kid Radio game show thing in the very near future, if I have anything to say about it. It will be done as an audio thing, but I think we're going to do it as video as well. Still trying to figure out the perfect platform and a few of the other kinks here and there that I need to work out, but stay tuned for that. when it is time to do that, I'm going to reach out to the patrons at the $5 level or higher and not just ask people to show up, but actually schedule some things and get some people on the show to do this, to participate. I bring this up, despite the fact that I just said that I don't want to come across as too needy or whatever. Head over to patreon.com/MonsterKidRadio. Become a patron at the $5 level or higher, and maybe you will be able to play in whatever this Monster Kid Radio game show is. I would like to open this up to y'all. I would love to come up with a cool name for it. Don't know what it's going to be yet. I don't know the exact format. There will be trivia questions. Right now I'm leaning towards something a little bit Jeopardy style, not necessarily in terms of things have to be answered in the form of a question or making bids for certain answers, by dollar amount or whatever. But in terms of like having a game board that you would pick your category and your question and then that sort of thing. That is kind of the format that I'm looking at right now. I'm not sure if that's what we're going to stick with, but we'll see. Stay tuned. And again, if you have any ideas for what the name of this game show could be, I'd love to hear it. I'd love to hear from you in general anyway. Feel free to email me at monsterkidradio@gmail.com or call and leave me a voicemail at area code 364-524-2484. I want to thank everybody for your comments regarding the last episode that we did do where Beth and I talked about the last voyage of the Demeter. Those comments were made on various places like Facebook and on YouTube. This podcast is on YouTube too, right? You can always leave comments there as well. Just huge thanks for being involved in the conversation there and letting people know about what we do here on MKR. Okay, so here's what you're going to get this week. You're going to get Mark Matzke's Beta Capsule review. That's going to come up here in a second. Then after that, I don't want to leave you hanging. I want to give you something. And I've done something similar to this in the past, but I have found, while going through some old storage boxes on a storage unit out in Beaverton, Oregon, I've got like 6 or 7 hard drives with various things on them. And I found a whole bunch of radio promos for movies, not just horror movies, but for movies. And, I've played radio promos here on the show quite a bit. I love them. I use them as transition audio pieces between segments on the show. Well, some of these are things that I've never played here on the show because I didn't realize I had them on various hard drives. And I never really thought to go out and look for them elsewhere. So, you know what? I'm going to share those with you here on this week's episode of MKR. And I've got like a 30-minute block of radio ads. They're fun to listen to. I hope you enjoy them as much as I enjoy them. And Beth enjoys them. I love playing them out loud kind of randomly here in the office when we're sitting here together working on stuff. And she just starts to giggle or crack up because, sometimes they're ridiculous. Sometimes they're just fun. I didn't include it in the montage you're going to hear later, but I played the Dr. Black and Mr. Hyde one for her, and she got a real kick out of that one. So I hope you find something in this mix of radio ads that you get a kick out of. I hope you get a kick out of Mark Matzke's Beta Capsule review, which is coming up right after I tell you the fingers and tentacles crossed. We will be back next week with that recording with Lord Bloodraw, where we talk about the history and the tradition of horror hosts. Talk to everybody next week. Mark, take it away.
Live from the Land of Light in Nebula M78, home of the mighty Ultra Heroes, it's Monster Kid Radio's Beta Capsule Review. Return of Ultraman, Episode 26, Mystery Homicide Beetle Incident. Original air date October 1st, 1971. While on patrol, Minami and Go notice a meteorite falling to Earth, and though it seems to be harmless, Go still notes that it touches down in the vicinity of the Sakata residence. Go's concern is well-founded. An alien beetle emerges from the downed object and proceeds to go on a murder spree, vaporizing innocent people with a laser ray shot from its horns. All the while, Aki and Go attempt to enjoy a date at the movies, but the murders attract the attention of Monster Attack Team, so duty calls, leaving Aki to walk home alone. The alien beetle descends, but Aki, unaware of the danger, swats it to the ground and walks on. Meanwhile, Jiro and his pals have become insect hunters, and with nets at the ready start combing the neighborhood for the strange beetle they've heard rumors about. Unconscious of the danger and dreaming of what a collector might pay for the specimen, Jiro closes in on capturing the interstellar bug. Despite some tense moments, he is successful, but the apprehension of the insect sets off a chain reaction of events that only Ultraman can address. Despite the vivid on-screen zapping of multiple victims, mystery homicide beetle incident charms the viewer with dazzling special effects and characters that we've come to really root for. Case in point, we can finally say Aki and Go are officially an item. Much is made of the fact that the lipstick Go bought for Aki is the first present he's ever given her. They both dress to the nines for their date, and Aki takes it in stride when Go has to tend to MAT business, because she knows they'll be going out again soon. Episode 26 is enhanced by the best-looking monster in some time, Nokogirin the space beetle. While a bit baggy in spots, looks like a hybrid of Baltan and Antlar, and he gets to smash up some impressive miniature cityscapes. Best of all, though, is the fact that Aki reveals herself to be one of us. Instead of another romantic film for her date with Go, she chooses to see The Forest of the Vampire Baron. She's a monster kid, after all. For Monster Kid Radio's Beta Capsule Review, this is Mark Matzke reporting.
Dracula, the most terrifying lover the world has ever known.
Who will be his bride tonight?
Horror of Dracula.
Dracula, dead and yet alive for 600 years.
Dracula, the human vampire who lusts for human blood.
See Horror of Dracula.
The greatest shock story of them all now achieves new heights of motion picture suspense.
See Horror of Dracula and watch the fiend who rises each night from his coffin bed to seek the rendezvous that alone can keep him alive.
See Horror of Dracula and watch those who came to destroy a monster stay to become his victim.
See Horror of Dracula.
But don't dare see it alone.
The chill of the tomb won't leave your blood for hours.
Horror of Dracula.
All new and in flaming Technicolor.
Come on the most fantastic and terrifying journey of your life. 4,000 miles into the center of the Earth, to a world within our world, at the Earth's core. Now, American International Pictures hurls you at supersonic speeds with Doug McClure and Peter Cushing to a world peopled by creatures beyond your wildest nightmares. The Mosaps, whose fiery breath withers trees and plants. The vicious Mahars, bird women who feed on human flesh. The giant Baz, lizard-like behemoths with poison fangs. The cruel Sagoths, animal-faced soldiers of Pellucidar, ruled by the Princess Dia, whose seductive beauty can drive men mad. Come on the most incredible voyage ever dared by man. Edgar Rice Burroughs at the Earth's Core. Rated PG. Parental guidance suggested.
Behind the blazing eyes of X, you will see demon forces that seek to probe the scientific unknown. Beware. Beware the stare of X. 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 1 cc under the right lid, 1 cc under the left. Suddenly he possessed X-ray vision, power to see through clothes, flesh, walls to the very ends of the universe. X, a fantastic adventure into the unknown, starring Ray Milland in his most challenging role since his Academy Award-winning Lost Weekend. X, the motion picture with a theme so unique it could only be called X. Filmed in Pathé color and Spectrorama. X, the man with the X-ray eyes, is the different picture this year from American International. You won't ever forget it. X. X. X.
His hand points the way to an experience human eyes have never before seen.
Earlier this evening, I saw what looked like a small meteor drop into the desert not far from here.
You mean it could have been a spaceship?
Robert Clark is the scientist caught between vicious gangsters and the astounding she-monster. Here is a power that frightens the deer in the forest, terrifies fearless dogs. A woman so intriguing that her face and figure fascinate every man. The woman whose warmth consumes. But the astounding she-monster is no more to be feared than beasts of our own underworld.
In case you get any more cute ideas, that's a sample of what
If you're not too afraid, make a date with the woman you'll never forget. A woman impervious to bullets.
How much shock can you take? It will haunt you forever. From the depth of evil comes a diabolic killer of beautiful women. The vampire's coffin. See a vampire's body stolen from its tomb. A psycho killer removes the stakes so the vampire can again prey on beautiful women. It's in the vampire's coffin. And to complete a double night of horror, a monstrous nightmare of terror turned loose in a fight to the death. The robot versus the Aztec mummy. They will bring you a night of terror. We dare you to see them, but don't come alone. The Vampire's Coffin in an all-new double horrorama show with The Robot versus the Aztec Mummy, presented in Hypnoscope. To heighten the horror, shock your senses, chill your brain. It could only be shown at midnight.
King Kong. The horror picture of all time.
Don't let him get me!
A beautiful girl torn from the arms of her lover by a jungle beast. King Kong.
See a battle between prehistoric monsters on an island time forgot.
A nightmare jungle creature from the primeval past stalking midnight streets.
My baby! It's got my baby!
See the thrill classic of all time, the biggest gorilla picture ever made in motion picture history. The jungle epic that can never be duplicated.
See RKO's original...
King Kong.
King Kong.
King Kong.
Ladies and gentlemen, you will soon behold a sight so strange, so horrifying, so utterly monstrous, we dare you to look. Look if you must. This is She-Freak. You have just entered the alley of 1,000 nightmares. Here behind the tinsel of a monster midway, you will discover She-Freak. A demented thing with the soul of a woman and a diabolical plot for hideous revenge. If you can take it, see She-Freak. But heed this warning. If you reveal the barbaric, hate-filled ending, you too will end up in the geek pit. She-Freak. Appalling in color.
Thank you. I've been standing there for centuries.
Yes, I suppose it seemed Why, it's raining, but you're not wet.
No, I'm not, am I?
Where are you coming from?
I was watching a wonderfully terrifying double feature movie. I was a teenage Frankenstein and Blood of Dracula.
Oh?
Professor Frankenstein created a teenage monster to bring havoc and terror to all who meet him, but he left a few parts out, particularly in the poor lad's face.
May we change the
And
subject?
the vampire in Blood of Dracula, quite unfriendly except when hungry, than any friend will do for a few ghastly moments.
Please,
Oh, here's where I must leave you.
But there's nothing here but an old cemetery.
Yes, I know. I want to meet some old friends here. After you see I Was a Teenage Frankenstein and Blood of Dracula, you might drop back here. We'll discuss the pictures to some length.
Yes, I'll do that.
The Phantom of the Opera.
Behind the cavernous walls of a great theater, behind the gaiety and make-believe, there lurks evil, an unspeakable evil.
The Phantom of the Opera.
The motion picture screen's unrivaled masterpiece of the macabre.
Only once in every generation comes a tale of such classic horror to hold audiences forever captive with its sheer fascination, its overwhelming terror, its frightening power.
The Phantom of the Opera.
Beneath his mask, the grotesque face of unimaginable horror.
But within his heart, the desperate desire for beauty and love.
Drama to thrill you and chill you as no other motion picture ever has.
In color.
The Phantom of the Opera.
It's so scary, we dare you to see The Monsters Crash the Pajama Party, the first movie ever filmed in Horror Vision, Hollywood's latest miracle. You'll scream as fiendish movie monsters actually become alive, then crash right out of the screen, go into the audience, and carry screaming girls from their seats right back into the picture to become part of the movie. We warn you, Horror Vision is not 3D. The movie monsters become real flesh and blood. Be sure to see The Monsters Crash the Pajama Party in Horror Vision and color.
Welcome to an evening with Karloff, the master of menace, in 5 fright-filled features. Watch breathlessly as the coffin opens to release the terror duck. It's only Edgar Allan Poe's The Raven. Join Boris Karloff in the most gruesome day of the undead, Black Sabbath. And there are 2 more blood-chilling delights, Die Monster Die, and who knows, you may die, laughing at the comedy of terrors. 5 of Karloff's creepiest capers in nightmare colors. And you are invited.
Fear will freeze you when you face it.
The Mummy.
Torn from the darkest tomb of the pharaohs, it rises from the quiet dust of centuries to wreak a strange vengeance against mankind.
The Mummy.
It tears steel bars like paper. It snaps men's spines like matchsticks. It walks through bullets like a ghost. It sees without eyes, it lives without breath, yet its desires are strangely, madly human.
The motion picture screen's most shocking experience in suspense.
In chilling Technicolor.
The Mummy.
I Was a Teenage Werewolf, the most terrifying picture of our time. I Was a Teenage Werewolf. Fantastic, bewildering. A motion picture to stand beside the greatest horror stories of all time. I Was a Teenage Werewolf.
If you've seen all the other horror films, this is for you. More horror, more screams, and more fright than your wildest nightmares in Frankenstein's Bloody Terror. An all-new Super Shocker filmed in Chillerama 70mm and gory color. Now meet the wolf monster, A slashing, inhuman creature who prowls by night for new victims. Its terror beyond your most fearsome imagination as vampires, using the powers of witchcraft, summon the hideous wolf monster. Don't miss Frankenstein's Bloody Terror. It's a super shock spectacle of hideous horror in Chillerama 70 and gory color. Rated GP.
Trapped. They're traps in a whirlpool of shrieking fear. From the most fiendish idea ever conceived by the human brain. The Brainiac. And it has a friend. She was beautiful, desirable, and not altogether human. The curse of the crying women. Together they will trap you in a whirlpool of horror. But if you live through it, you will never forget. The Brainiac and the curse of the crying women.
The Brides of Dracula. Never before has a motion picture revealed so much of the mystical, the unnatural. The Brides of Dracula. Out of the unknown darkness he comes, the handsomest, the most evil Dracula of them all, bringing horror beyond human endurance to a fashionable girls' school. Who can resist him as one by one he seeks out his fresh, innocent victims? Who will be next to know his kiss of death as one by one he lures young beauties into the timeless, bloodless realm of the undead? Beware of pity, for he feels none. Beware of love, for none can refuse him. Never has the struggle between good and evil been so shocking and the outcome so uncertain. Terror beyond telling in color. The Brides of Dracula.
Please, we're doing all we can for you. We're trying to bring you back down to normal size.
You do think I'm a freak, don't you? But you know, to me, you're the freak, the one who's different. I'm not growing, you're shrinking.
He started as a normal human being, but now each day he doubles in size. Where will it stop? The amazing, colossal man.
Colonel, he's been reported in Las Vegas. Impossible. How can he walk 120 miles in only an hour?
Impossible? Not when you're 60 feet tall. The amazing, colossal man.
When the forces of nature erupt, the ocean floor opens up, and 5 men and 1 woman are hurtled 15 miles straight down to latitude 0. Discover the incredible space-age world of tomorrow at latitude 0. Discover the undersea metropolis, the battle of the flying submarines, the attack of the giant mutants, and discover the unbelievable human transplant, a live woman's brain into the body of a beast. Latitude 0, where man's future explodes 15 miles beneath the sea. From National General Pictures in color, rated G, general audiences.
From the creative genius of Roger Corman, who brought to the screen Edgar Allan Poe's most shocking horror tales, comes the ultimate in blood-chilling screen experiences, The Terror, starring the incomparable Boris Karloff.
You think I'm mad, don't you?
In the role he was born to play, The Terror, bedeviled by his own mad, all-consuming passions.
With my own hands, I killed her.
The Terror. His evil, mystic powers go beyond man's wildest imaginings.
If he resists, kill him.
American International presents The Terror, starring Boris Karloff, Dean of all horror demons, in this, his most demanding terrorization. The Terror, a film group production in color and Vistascope.
Ladies and gentlemen, here is an important message from Jack H. Harris, producer of 4D Man.
Imagine a check for $1 million being made out to you.
In my new film, you will see 4D Man perform feats never seen on the screen before. And if you, any one of you listening to me, can actually perform in real life the feats ascribed to 4D Man, $1 million in cash will be yours. Your admission ticket to see 4D Man in widescreen and color may be worth $1 million.
4D Man is the most amazing motion picture ever made. The story of one man who solved the mystery of the fourth dimension. Even in this century of wonders, when science holds nothing to be impossible, you'll gasp in awe at the feats of the 4D Man.
In color to thrill you as never before, 4D Man.
Chamber of Horrors. The first motion picture ever with a built-in audio-visual warning system to protect the timid and the fearful. At the start of certain scenes that many may consider too shocking, a red fear flasher will begin its signal on the screen. And when you hear the horror horn, shut your eyes and hold your ears. See Chamber of Horrors, Technicolor from Warner Brothers.
Our planet may be doomed, our Earth devastated. The monsters are in revolt, and civilization is in chaos. Godzilla is laying waste to New York. Rodan is attacking Moscow. Manda is smashing London, and Peking trembles under the wrath of Mothra. Our battle cry must be, destroy all monsters. Who can say which country or city will be next? We must unite and destroy all monsters. Is there a way to defend against Godzilla, Rodan, Manda, and Mothra? The answer is no. Let our battle cry be, destroy all monsters. Be prepared. See for yourself, in color from American International. Destroy all monsters. Monster. This picture is rated G for general audiences. Destroy all monsters.
The House of Wax, the ultimate dimension in terror, comes to the screen in Stereovision 3D. Vincent Price, at his diabolical best, will take you room by terrible room on a journey to the ultimate chamber of horrors. Stereovision 3D will synthesize before your eyes the terrifying reality of it all. In Stereovision 3D, House of Wax is more than a movie. It's an experience you'll never forget.
Listen. This is the eerie, ghastly, sinister sound of giant vampire bats in flight, summoned from the caves of perpetual night to destroy, to kill, to avenge.
Universal presents a tale of the supernatural, Kiss of the Vampire.
You know what a vampire is?
Yes. I've heard of vampire bats.
No, not bats. Human vampires. Beings who exist from the blood of other humans.
Kiss of the Vampire.
The spine-chilling drama of two young lovers trapped in a twilight world of terror, a world of unspeakable horror.
You've hypnotized her. She's in a trance. Look at me, Marianne. For God's sake, look at me.
Learn the macabre secrets of the living dead.
Gasp at the screen's most terrifying climax. Kiss of the Vampire in color.
The world's mightiest monster meets the world's mightiest menace. King Kong, bigger, stronger, more ferocious than any living creature, faces his greatest challenge in King Kong Escapes. For now, Kong meets his greatest foe, a duplicate King Kong created by an evil genius, built of indestructible super steel, 60 towering feet of invincible robot. King Kong, who can defy the might of modern artillery, tanks, missiles, the vast strength of prehistoric monsters, clashes with the Kong of Steel in the battle of the century in King Kong Escapes. All new, all thrilling, more fantastic than ever, King Kong Escapes. A Toho Company limited picture, a universal release in Technicolor.
Hey, weirdos. Bring a fiend to a night of terror. But wait until the dead of night. And from behind the tombstone, maybe you will see
The Man and Monster.
And he is usually with
The Bloody Vampire.
It's time for terror. If you see them, you will see an unspeakable horror that terrorizes the universe. You and your fiend can make it a foursome when you meet
The Man and Monster and the Bloody Vampire.
Today was like any other. The busy hum of daily activity. People setting out on their usual routine day. Until Reptilicus. A beast born 50 million years out of time. Like nothing you've ever seen before. As it roams across the world, spreading terror in its path, destruction in its wake, towering over the cities of the world. Reptilicus. Immune to the most powerful of man's weapons, invincible, indestructible. Nothing can halt the horror of its revenge. Reptilicus. A raging power causing the world to riot in fear. Reptilicus. On the giant screen in color from American International Pictures. Even after you see it, you won't believe it. Reptilicus.
A great new motion picture in the world's newest motion picture process, Cinemagic. The wonder of the added fourth dimension. With Cinemagic, you are actually on the first rocket ride to Mars in the Angry Red Planet. You feel the dizzying heights of their fantastic city of mile-high buildings. You'll shiver as you ride the River of the Dead. Your depth perception will increase 1,000-fold as you look into the waters that lead to foreverness. And the terrors you meet on Mars are beyond man's imagination. The rat-bat spider. So real in Cinemagic, you'll feel the crazed stare of its blinded eyes, the tearing shock of its iron claws, the giant amoeba. Like an earth germ only 100 million times larger. Thrills, shocks, terrors, and your first glimpse of the life and the world of Mars. All are yours to experience in The Angry Red Planet, in Eastman 5250 color from American International.
Man that is born of woman.
What mysteries beyond the grave are in the oblong box? Will you rest in peace?
My brother Edward has died.
Where is he going to be buried?
As soon as you found another body.
The oblong box, 6 feet 4 inches long, 24 inches deep, and 24 inches wide. Will it be your home for the rest of your unnatural life?
God, my brother was buried alive.
Now, for the first time, American International Pictures presents Edgar Allan Poe's classic tale of the restless dead and the subterranean world of unspeakable horror with those masters of the macabre, Vincent Price and Christopher Lee. The oblong box in color is rated M, suggested for mature audiences.
Of the fifth dimension. The light, the sound, the horror. You will feel it around you. You will see the vampire as though he were attacking. You will see the curse of the doll people. As though they were about to kill you. See live monsters around you and ghouls. Bring your playthings. Have a cocktail from the vampire's blood bank.
The vault of horror is about to open. You will learn its terrifying secrets if you dare. Death lives in Tales from the Crypt from Cinerama Releasing. Rated PG. Parental guidance suggested. Some material may be unsuitable for pre-teenagers.
Out from the coldest and darkest regions of the sea, as old as time itself, comes the most terrifying monster the world has ever seen. The Sea Creature! Slithering over the face of the earth came a monster from beyond the stars. Inhuman, indestructible. Life on this planet was doomed when it conquered the world. These will be the strangest, most terrifying motion pictures you have ever seen. You will see monsters from a nightmare. The most horrifying creatures that ever made you wake up screaming. The She-Creature. And it conquered the world.
Frankenstein's monster can be destroyed by fire. Dracula by a silver stake driven through his heart. But nothing will avail against the absolute evil of the creeping flesh. The creeping flesh.
From Columbia Pictures, rated PG, parental guidance suggested.
Beware the astro zombies. They mutilate, they torture, they kill. Spine-tingling horror, unspeakable shock, and breathless excitement will grip you as you watch living organs ripped from the bodies of voluptuous females, as beating hearts and throbbing brains are transplanted to create the astro zombies. Cringe in terror, scream in fright as these skull-faced monsters strike blindly at living flesh, and the motion picture screen flows in the blood-drenched wake of the astro zombies. The beautiful, voluptuous, deadly, vicious Satana, a woman who would stop at nothing to gain control over the astro zombies, whose creed was kill, kill, kill. John Carradine as the deranged scientist, Wendell Corey as the doctor who opposes him, match wits in this bloody, sadistic, terror-filled, suspense-laden horror film of brutal mutilations and senseless killings as the astro zombies go berserk and threaten a city with death. Watch it and you die 1,000 deaths. The Astro Zombies in color, coming soon to your local theater.
It all began with a curse. A curse from the grave.
The evil you did this day will be avenged.
A curse of the dead hand. The hand that crawls, creeps, and kills.
No, please.
The dead hand that lives. And now the screaming starts. For them. And for you. And now the screaming starts. Starring Peter Cushing from Cinerama Releasing. Rated R, under 17, not admitted without parent.
Why, what are you looking for under a tombstone at broad daylight?
Shh! You'll scare her away.
Scare her away? Who? What? What can you scare away here in a cemetery?
My ghoul friend. She's the ghost in the invisible bikini.
What are you putting me on? Herbie, I know you're broad-minded, but this is ridiculous.
No, I'm serious. And you should see her since she traded her bedsheet for a bikini.
Well, you must enjoy looking around for a real nothing broad.
It's really just that American International is inviting everyone out to the graveyard for a blood-curdling blast with the ghost in the invisible bikini to see Tommy Kirk, Deborah Wally, Aaron Kincaid, Harvey Lembeck and Jesse White with Nancy Sinatra, and guest stars Basil Rathbone, Boris Karloff, and Susan Hart in The Ghost in the Invisible Bikini in Pathé Color and Panavision.
Now, you would have to get commercial. Now you scared her away. Ooh.
Journey to a magical time when heroes and demons battle for the golden treasures and the human spoils of forgotten kingdoms. Thrill to the story of a legendary superhero who fights through all the torments of hell to save the woman he loves from the world's most powerful sorcerer. This is Sinbad's greatest adventure. The Seventh Voyage of Sinbad. The sadistic magician shrinks the beautiful princess to the size of a tiny doll. Only Sinbad can save her. See the living skeleton, the attack of the two-headed bird, the dance of the deadly cobra woman, the spectacular battle between the one-eyed cyclops and the fire-breathing dragon. See the Seventh Voyage of Sinbad in the breathtaking motion picture miracle of Dinorama. The Seventh Voyage of Sinbad from Columbia Pictures, rated G, general audiences.
becomes the graveyard of man and beast as the mighty herd stampede in panic before the paralyzing fear of these monsters from the green hell.
The animals flee from green hell. This I have seen.
And there is something, perhaps even monsters, but a thing of nature, not of evil spirits.
This is the drone of death. The terrifying sound of the monstrous cosmic ray mutations unleashed upon the jungle from a rocket run wild.
Can you guess how big the creature itself must be?
Yeah. But we won't have to guess at it, Dan. We'll see for ourselves.
Out of all mankind's millions, only a handful know the full horrifying danger. Their strange safari to fight the giant insect enemy, filmed with thrilling impact. See the battle with the warlike Kanagas, driven wild by their superstitious fear of the monsters. See the subatomic barrage, powerless against these invincible enemies. Monsters from the green hell.
Too bad. Poor man. But it's his own fault. We warned him. We told him to close his eyes when he heard this sound. During the running of the motion picture, The Telltale Heart, Edgar Allan Poe's classic tale of terror. Look, are you squeamish? Then be honest with yourself. Close your eyes and don't look at the screen until this sound stops. There's a good reason for this warning. You see, you take the chance of forever hearing the telltale heart in your nightmares. He hasn't stopped screaming in 2 weeks. The Telltale Heart. Coming soon to this theater.
On the whole face of the earth today, there is no place more terrifying than the Valley of Guanji. In Technicolor.
Warning! Godzilla versus the Thing. A shattering motion picture not for the weak of heart. Here in all its astounding realism is a soul-shocking experience. How much terror can you stand? What was this thing of unbelievable and unequaled terror that challenged Godzilla to a battle of unhuman strength versus supernatural evil? Godzilla versus the Thing. See the war of the giants. See the birth of the world's most terrifying monster. See armies of the world destroyed by the Thing. The producers of Godzilla vs. the Thing issue warning to those who cannot take its full horror. To you with guts, you must see Godzilla vs. the Thing from the beginning in color scope from American International.
Prepare for a spine-tingling, nerve-shattering podcast featuring all your favorite monsters. You won't believe your ears when you listen to Monster Kid Radio. Hear your host, Derek M. Cook, and his ever-rotating stable of guests discuss your favorite classic and sometimes not-so-classic monster movies. Subscribe to Monster Kid Radio through iTunes or Stitcher, or visit monsterkidradio.net before the next weekly episode of Monster Kid Radio. Go through the archives for interviews with Sarah Karloff, Victoria Price, and Joel Hodgson. Listen to discussions about movies like Creature from the Black Lagoon, Island of Terror, and King Kong. And don't forget convention coverage from Monster Bash and the H.P. Lovecraft Film Festival. Classic monsters, modern talk, and the head of Rondo Hatton, only on Monster Kid Radio.